Have you guys ever thought you found the color that you loved in a showroom, so you took it home, you saw it in your space, but it's not working out and you can't put your finger on why? Well, today in this video, I'm going to show you how to find the perfect color for your floors. Hey guys, I'm Clarisse with Hardwood, and today we're going to talk about choosing the right color for your floor. So if you're finding yourself stuck on your color choices or you're going back and forth on the wrong colors, we're going to go over why that is happening and give you some tips to make sure you're making the right color choices. So I'm going to start it off with a little illusion. You see a square on your right and another square on your left. When you focus on the color, it looks a little bit more green toned on one and a bit more orange toned on the other. But if you actually remove the background information and put those two squares together, you're gonna see that they're actually the same exact color. So we're perceiving them to be a different color because of the surrounding colors that are there. So color is really all about perception. It must be viewed in the exact time and place that it's intended to be used. What that means for you is that you have to bring a swatch home. If you're shopping around, looking at different retailers and swatches, or you're online shopping, looking at images on the web, you absolutely must consider what are the things that are in your existing condition that's going to affect how you see this color in your own lighting, in your space. The two things that really cover how we perceive color is going to be lighting and other surrounding colors that you have. So for lighting, you want to observe what is the dominant lighting that you have in the space. It could be the type of bulb that you're using, maybe the type of natural lighting that you're getting, or even simply just the direction that your room is facing towards the sun. So let's start off with type of bulb. You have incandescent and vintage Edison bulbs that was popular back in the day. So this one has a very warm cast similar to sunlight. So it will intensify warm tones and warm, cool ones. So say for example, you're looking at an already very warm toned swatch like this one in our showroom. And here in our showroom, we have very neutral lighting. So if you take this home to your very warm lighting, the warm light is going to intensify the warm tones in here, and it could potentially look too strong for you, maybe too orange. So what you could do is probably take another swatch that is a little bit more on the cooler side, still warm, but that way when you take it home with you, it's not going to be as strong and it'll still warm it up to your desired color. So next we have CFL lighting, and CFL known to have a little bit more of a bluish tinge to it, but really you can get it with warmer tones as well for warmer lighting. So just depending on, again, what color temperature you have, say you do have cooler lighting and it's like 5000 K color temperature, then when you take this swatch home, and again, this is already like a very warm tone swatch, but under your cool lighting, it's going to end up muting those tones. So it'll end up not being exactly what you thought it would be. So what you could do is probably, consider taking an even warmer swatch or maybe a more saturated color. That way when you do take it home, it'll still get muted, but not as much, and you'll still be closer to your desired color. So another type of fluorescent light would be LFL, or standard fluorescent, and this one was used before in like commercial buildings, office spaces, and so this one also is very bright, tends to have a greenish tinge to it. So for that, you would use the same concept, but more specifically, if you want to neutralize the green, then you would take your color wheel and take the opposite color on that wheel, which would be red or a pink. So if you use a little bit of a pink undertone on your floor, that's going to help neutralize the green cast that you're seeing. So keep in mind, this only works when you're mixing colors, but if you're placing two opposite colors next to each other, that's actually going to intensify it. But we'll talk more about that later. So the most popular lighting option right now is LED lighting, and that's going to be most energy efficient, has so many options for your color temperatures from warm to neutral to cool lighting, and really depending on what color temperature you choose for your bulb, you just want to adjust how you look at swatches in this case. Now for a more sought after type of lighting is natural light, and a lot of people love this type of feature, but where it can also be a bit more complicated is when the outside gets reflected back inside. So here's an example where you can see that happening. This homeowner has very wide windows across the wall, and outside she has tall trees, and that green from the trees is getting reflected back into her space, on her walls, on her floors, and I don't think that's what she intended to do. So this other one is another example of that same thing happening. This homeowner now has sliding glass doors across her wall, and right outside is a pool. And so now the blue is getting reflected back into her floor. So let's show one more example, and now this homeowner decided to try to solve this. So she has the same issue with a bit of the green kind of getting reflected back into her space. What she did was, before she had more of an off-tone white color on her walls. Instead, she repainted her walls to have a bit more of like a pink undertone. Again, you're using the opposite color to offset that. So now when the green casts that light on it, it looks a bit brighter. You don't see much of that green cast anymore, and overall, problem solved. So related to natural light is direction of the room. So the sun is rising on the east and setting on the west. So for east-facing rooms, in the morning, you're gonna have brighter, yellower light, and that's gonna happen till noon. But towards the evening, you'll have kind of more dimmer and cooler lighting. And then that would be the opposite for a west-facing room, because it's setting in this direction. So you'll have warm tones in the evening, but in the morning, it'll have more shadows and just cooler lighting in general. For north-facing rooms, you'll have throughout the day cooler, dimmer lighting. And so for this type of room orientation, you might want to do maybe some more saturated colors or more bold colors, because that's going to help just make your room more lively. Or it might be even a good idea to bring in some warm tones to have a room that's a bit more welcoming instead. So it would be the opposite for south-facing rooms. So for this, you're gonna have brighter light, you'll have some warmer tones, yellower light as well. So darker colors are gonna appear brighter, and colors in general will appear more intensified. So a lot of people like doing softer tones in this space because, again, when you intensify colors, it's gonna appear warmer. So in this case, if that's what you're intending to do, then you could definitely do more energizing tones that are gonna intensify each other. But if not, then you could do softer tones instead. My favorite part of the process is now knowing what surrounding colors you have in your space. Or if you're starting from scratch, then what are you envisioning for your space? And this is important because depending on what your vision is, you can either intensify the colors for a more energizing look using the opposite colors, or you can have a more toned down look, which is more calming and cohesive by using similar undertones that you have. So here's some examples where you can intensify the look of your space for that more energizing feel. So if you look at this swatch right here, it has a pretty neutral color to it, or so it seems, but it actually has some pink undertones. You just can't see it yet. So if you put the opposite color again next to it, which is some green tones, then you're gonna see it pulling the pink out of that more because they're intensifying each other. So now you see a little bit of that pink showing through. And here's another example where you have a pretty subdued, kind of like natural oak looking floor, and it has a bit of yellow undertone to it. And say this person wants to accessorize with like purple accents and things like that. So again, they both look like pretty subdued colors separately, but if you put them together, because they are opposites on the color wheel, they are going to intensify one another. So now the floor is going to look a little bit more yellow and your accents are going to look a bit more purple. So it's totally fine, you know, it's a really nice energetic look, but just make sure that you are observing what surrounding colors you have to make sure that you're intentional about what you're doing. So instead, if you are looking to kind of have a more calm and cohesive look, then you can choose more similar undertones instead. And here are examples where you could do that. Have you guys thought you found the right color in the showroom and you loved it, so you took it home, but then it's not working out and you can't put your finger on why? Well guys, it's all about the undertones. It's the undertones, guys. Wood looks better when it has a similar undertone that they're sharing that with. And that is because wood, which has a pretty common color, which is brown. Brown is literally the mixture of all the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. And so usually you're not gonna get a perfect balance of all these colors. You're gonna have one that is going to have a higher percentage over the other. And so when the brown is leaning towards a certain color, that is going to give you your undertone. So what are the common undertones in wood? You have yellow, orange, red, pink, green, and some purples too. So here are some examples where you can see yellow as an undertone in wood. And again, it doesn't mean that you're gonna use the same exact color throughout your whole space. Say if this photo has these really nice beams, you don't have to use that same exact shade on the floors and on your furniture as well. So if you look at the swatches of yellow undertones we have, they all just have that similar kind of warm undertone that's uniting them together. And next, let's look at orange tones. And for orange, they tend to have kind of a yellow orange or a red orange that they're pulling through. So again, depending on really what color or swatch you end up liking, the orange is still the unifying undertone that's relating them all together to create a more harmonious look. And then we have red or pink undertones. And again, we're not talking about pure colors here. We're just looking at undertones, very subdued hues. Sometimes you can see it better when you look at swatches next to it. And then we have purple, or more better way to say it would be probably taupe tone. And so purple, it's kind of funny to say that, but really when you're looking at your color wheel, when you have a good balance between the red and the blue, what's towards the middle of that would be purple or violet. So really this looks a little bit more neutral. And then you have taupe toned that kind of looks like that color too, which taupe is a combination of beige and gray. And so this color looks really well with cool tones and some gray tones as well. And you'll have a really great calming look. So guys, there is a way that you can actually get a pretty close neutral brown, and that is when you get a close balance to your red, blue, and yellow. So that way, no one color is kind of leaning towards it. And so colors like these would be espresso and walnut. And I find a lot of designers actually do like this color, and I think it's because they work well with any of the colors that we just talked about. So that's it, you guys. Overall, you want to start with what are the existing elements that you have in the space and understand what they do in your home. And whether that be your lighting or reading the undertones that you have, use all of these to help guide you in selecting the right color for your space and your vision. Thank you guys so much for listening. And if you have any more questions or need any more help, please come visit our showroom and we'll be happy to help you out.